What is up, Cowboys Nation? Boy, Mike Tag here. I'm representing the Canes. Got a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to get into a lot of it. But we got a great show for you. Obviously, some great guests. We're going to get into a little college, a little NFL, primarily the Cowboys, of course. But we got our man G-Rag. He's back. He's are you healed? You healed up? Or you still?
No, I had the second surgery, which is the one that's going to do it. But I'm still in the healing process. And this time, I'm taking it easy too.
All right, well, take it easy. We need you healthy. Don't get crazy dropping no videos. You got some time to recover. The Cowboys got about 10 days to relax, so make sure you get healthy. And then, of course, we got a new member of the cave. And I always tell you guys, sometimes I have lunch, sometimes I'm talking to a big Cowboys friend of mine. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we just bring him in the cave? That way you guys get an insight for what we talk about. He's a great guy. The only problem, we got an asterisk next to Jeff's name. He's a Florida State fan, which, Florida State, if you want to be honest, did us dirty by the lackluster season they had is the reason why Miami Hurricanes weren't in the playoffs because of the tiebreaker. But we'll welcome Jeff to the show anyway. Jeff, what's up, my man? How you doing?
Hey, appreciate it. Good morning, fellas.
Oh, it's going to be good. Now, let's get into some college football because you saw the games. You saw the games last night. And I'm one, and I want to get your guys' opinion. I'm typically a firm believer of you shouldn't penalize teams that are in the championship game, right? They're playing another game, not really fair. But when you see BYU get absolutely annihilated, and when you see Alabama get annihilated, you got to put that in consideration. If it was a close game, but want to get your opinion. Start with you, Jeff. What was your thoughts on the games yesterday, and how should that impact how the committee is thinking about these two teams that took bad losses?
So personally, for me, Alabama with 3 losses, I don't see them getting in. I think there's probably too many teams that are going to be bumped ahead of them. Miami being one. You're welcome. And then BYU is a 2-loss team, and they only lost to Texas Tech, which was the number 4 team in the nation twice.
Yeah.
So do you take a 3-loss Bama team, regardless if it's the SEC, over top of one of these other at-large bids? James Madison is another team that may sneak in.
Yeah.
So the way that I'm looking at it right now, I don't see Alabama getting in. I know there was some conversation I had some conversation last night with a couple of people about Alabama getting in or Vanderbilt getting in.
Yeah.
How does Bama beat Vandy by 20 points earlier this season? So I don't see Vandy getting in. I don't see Bama getting in. I think BYU has a better chance of getting in instead of Bama, even though I think the committee wants Bama to be there because of the draw that it is, the attraction, the money that comes with it.
Yeah.
So
that's the interesting one. And Greg, get your thoughts. But just to put it in perspective, I looked at the college football playoff. They did a straw poll. ESPN did of the 11, in the know college football analysts, experts, whatever you want to call them. And 9 of the 11 have Miami in. 8 of 11 have Notre Dame in. 4 of 11 have Bama in. So kind of getting to your point to see what it is. But Greg, I know you're biased like me. I know you expect Miami to be in. Of course, they deserve to be in. But what's your thoughts of what happened yesterday? Should that impact it? And where do you see the Canes?
Everybody in media and in the fan base are talking logic. Plain logic. It's the NCAA committee, and I'll say this, and I've been saying this since 1970s. The NCAA committee is corrupt and scandalous. Period. They will find a way to cherry pick and justify any means necessary to put Alabama and Notre Dame in the playoffs every year. I don't care what their record is. You think about this. There's Joey Galloway with his hateful talking mess about Miami shouldn't be in there.
I used to like Galloway. He's on the X list.
He might be afraid we run up on Ohio State. But they're talking about not penalizing the team that played in a conference championship. Notre Dame is in no conference. Notre Dame will never get in a conference because they know if I get in a conference, I'm going to get mollywopped. And if they get in the conference, they won't stack up every season with that freebie that they get now. They get a freebie every year. I don't care what. Who was that? Northern Illinois beat the brakes off of them. First game of the season in Notre Dame. And they still find a way with the losses they had to put them in. So I have absolutely 1,000% categorically no confidence in the NCAA CFP committee doing the right thing. It's not about the right thing. Jeff mentioned it. It's about the fan base, the hype, the draw, and this. Yeah. That's all the CFP is thinking about. They don't like Miami since the 80s. The rule book was changed because of Miami. They'll find any way they can to bring Miami out. If Miami only lost one game, they'll use the fact that they came up with this crazy ACC Rubik's Cube to put Duke in the ACC championship to say why Miami shouldn't be in it. That is blasphemy. I've never seen 7-5 team going to the ACC championship when all these other teams rank above them in ACC. BS. So everybody out there thinking, because of the analysts who see common sense, the fans who see common sense and logic, folks that aren't even Miami Hurricane fans and hate them, see that Miami should be in. There's a rude awakening coming for you. Wake up. The NCAA committee doesn't give a damn. They will put Alabama and Notre Dame in, and they will sit there and say, okay, how are we going to justify this bullshit? Here's how we're going to do it, all right? And we're going to stand on it and watch. That's what they're going to come out and say. And nothing they say will be able to deter their decision. So Alabama and Notre Dame, watch, they get in the playoffs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they line Alabama up with somebody that they know or think they're going to beat first, like maybe James Madison, line them up with them to play first so they can give them an option to get out of one and go to the next round.
Let me jump in. This is the funny thing that we get. So we get a comment. I love my man Bugs. He's Oklahoma fan. And to be honest with you, if you really want to look at a team that's actually, flying under the radar and not being exposed because it's been a Notre Dame Miami, is Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, they don't look so hot. They don't look so hot. But typically what they do is Bama will be in because they lost to Oklahoma and lost to Georgia. They never want to add that they got beat down by Florida State. Right. No one ever wants to add that game. Why? They always talk about what about the Florida State game where they got annihilated by a Florida State team that turned out to be not so good? They don't want to credit Miami beating Florida State, a rival, and going in and beating them on the road and all that stuff. But they wanted to, they don't want to give us credit, but they want to dismiss that one like it never happened. And that's the part that kind of irritates me with the Miami Notre Dame, because their resumes are similar. They're common opponents. Miami edged them out, or they were even. Head to head, Miami's better. When they played ranked teams at the time they played, Miami's 4-0. Notre Dame is 2-2. Now the schedule works out. Now one of the teams Miami beat is ranked, the others aren't. Notre Dame only has 2 ranked teams that they beat that are ranked now, and they're 0-2 against them. So that's the part that it's frustrating. But Notre Dame, and we got to understand this, Notre Dame is the Dallas Cowboys of college football. They are America's team of college football. There's more, they run the country. They have their own network. So there always is going to be that bias. I guarantee you, if NFL was set up with a power rankings, Dallas Cowboys would be in the playoffs every year because they want those ratings. You saw what Thanksgiving regular season game, 58 plus million people watching that game. 2 teams that were 500. Mm-hmm. So what you say, Jeff?
So I'm just looking at the rankings prior to last night, right? I actually think that they'll develop a conscience and Alabama won't make it in because they were already 9th. You give them a 3rd loss. Notre Dame slides in. Miami, to me, definitely slides in. BYU, maybe. But then if you look at the next teams, Texas already 3 losses, won't get in. Vanderbilt won't get in front of Bama because Bama beat them hit up. They may find a way to put Tulane in there.
Well, let me ask you add on that. Tulane and Madison. Does that bother you that these teams are going to get? I mean, they're going to be 30-point underdogs with whoever they play. Do you want the 12 best teams, or you just want to be nice to everybody?
Yeah, I kind of had this conversation yesterday. For me, I prefer the 12 best teams. However, I understand. See, for me, them expanding the playoffs to 12 teams gives them the opportunity to have the names, the Ohio States, the Notre Dames, the Oklahomas, those teams that everybody wants to tune in and watch. But it also gives them the opportunity to give Cinderella stories, which is where the JMU comes in. This is where the Tulane comes in. So they have enough teams, they have enough places to put teams in to have a bit of both. Now, you can put James Madison in there, you can put Tulane in there, and whoever they're against, five Oregon, 6 Ole Miss, they're probably gonna get thumped by 30 plus.
Yeah.
And then the next year they'll course correct. But this is kind of how they go back and forth. And if you look at the teams right outside of the top 10, BYU's not very convincing. I mean, they look really bad against Texas Tech. Like, so if I'm the committee, I can't, with good conscience, put a team in that got thumped by Texas Tech in. Yeah. Miami goes from 12, slides in easily. Texas has 3 losses, doesn't go in. Vanderbilt lost to Bama, doesn't go in. So that's a way to keep Bama in the mix. But I think James Madison or Tulane they put in because there's this Cinderella feel-good story of, hey, small conference, small team. Let's give them the opportunity to come in and play with the big boys.
Yeah, and that works in basketball. But football, I mean, it don't work in football. These guys are going to more than likely get stomped. I mean, Greg, what's your thoughts on the smaller schools? My suggestion was they should create, like in basketball has the NCAA March Madness tournament, then they have the NIT. The NIT is for those smaller teams. That way you have a national championship of a lower level if you want. But mixing some of these teams, and I know you said Northern Illinois, yeah, you can get that once in a blue moon, but this is going to be the playoffs. I just think both of those teams are going to get destroyed. We've seen it happen before. Who was the Cinderella football team that got in the playoffs? Everyone was happy, and then they got annihilated the first round. I can't remember. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. But, I mean, what do you think about these small schools getting in and getting represented, or do you want the top 12 best?
It was Kansas State that got in there and got mollywopped in the playoffs by Michigan. But here's the problem. If you spoke about conscience, listen. You got to always keep at the forefront because when you speak in logic, and that's what you speak, you're going to stay on logic. And somewhere in the conversation, you forget to bring in the fact that, wait a minute, we're talking about a committee that has no conscience. We're talking about a committee that has no logic. We're talking about a committee where probably most of the committee members are in bed with strong, powerful alumni and moneymakers from these schools. So if you don't think that Alabama's alumni, moneymakers, and power structure around their football organization is not in the pocket or in the minds of some of those CFP voters, then I don't know what you're thinking about. So you have to understand that. And when you're thinking on logic, everything makes sense, especially this year. James Madison is one of those schools they're looking at, you know what? We can bring in that fan base from those smaller schools, more revenue, give them an opportunity to shine a little bit. Maybe that'll help them in recruiting because, the CFP is being fair. They're allowing some small schools in there, whether they get whooped or not. So that's going to bring in a bunch more revenue fan base that they didn't have before from those schools. And it'll help their recruiting. Who knows? But as far as getting the best teams in there, no, way overmatched. And if you're going to put James Madison in there, Miami should be a lock, period. Absolute lock. But you got to understand, and this is why I have no confidence whatsoever. It would blow my mind if the CFP puts Miami in, because that means maybe a lot of power structures out there were in their ears that are always in their ears and saying, you need to make the right decision because you not only are you going to look stupid for all the stuff you've done in the past, you're going to look absolutely biased and nobody's going to trust you. But James Madison getting in proves to me that the committee absolutely is foul, because you're going to turn around and have a 9-page justification why you don't put Miami in, but a split decision right there on why James Madison makes it. And Notre Dame has no conference. They pick and choose who they play. So Notre Dame, I said it before to the Notre Dame fan base, you're cowards. You are cowards. Get in a conference, and then I'll legitimize you.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen in a couple hours. They're going to announce it, so they make this big hoopla. We'll see what happens. But like I said, everything points. If you listen to Logic and you listen to all the experts that have been on, I mean, even Booger McFarland, any guy that's been on there said Miami should be in there. So hopefully, common sense prevails. That's what Catholics versus common sense. I still have the convicts, but my man at Dime Life, DJ Williams, he made those Catholics versus common sense, and hopefully that'll be the case. Otherwise, don't play these games. I mean, you shouldn't play these games. Just play the conference. And I think the conference is a whole nother issue, because you got 15 teams in a conference. You're not playing each other. They got to come up with a better way or a better system. I know John Gruden was talking about that on his show, and I agree 100%. But looking at the Cowboys. And
hold on.
Go ahead. You want to transition on it, Jeff?
Just one more question.
Yeah.
You guys really think that they're going to keep Miami out?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't think they have. Listen, Jeff,
I think the pressure's mounting, though. I think the pressure's mounting for them, and with BYU and Alabama, I think that definitely helped Miami. But if you listen to the guy,
perfect scenario. Right? That was the best case. That was the best scenario, right?
Yeah, it was. Everything lined up yesterday. Every team did what we needed them to do to get us in. But what you got to understand, Jeff, that CFP is deep-seated, scandalous, rooted in bias from day one. They will come. You watch the most lame excuse they're going to come with when they put Alabama in and Notre Dame, and watch the BS that they throw out there why Miami didn't make it. Just watch.
So I'll just say this. I don't think that's going to happen. I think BYU, Alabama fall out. I think Miami slides in, and then you have either Tulane or JMU get the 12th one. But I think Miami, to me, Miami's a lock. I think when the committee looks at, Miami's here, but we got Notre Dame above them, but Miami beat them hit up. Yeah, I think, to me, Miami's a lot.
Look, I hope I'm wrong. I surely hope I'm wrong.
I hope I'm wrong. I don't know. And the thing is, I was getting into it last night with people on Twitter with Miami, and some people got offended by me, and they say, "Oh, I can't believe you talk this way." Look, Miami's my team, and all I talked about was facts. And the facts were, I was at the Miami game. I was there. Miami dominated them. The problem was our coach. And he's our Achilles heel. I'll be the first to admit it. He takes the brakes. He takes the gas off and puts the brakes on, gets conservative. Going into the fourth quarter, Miami was up 21-7. They were destroying them. The all-world running back, which he is. I mean, I give Jeremiah love. I'd love to see him with a Cowboys uniform. I mean, the dude is a beast. 10 carries, 33 yards. We shut him down. We dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. It should have never been close. Mario was the reason it even was close. And that's the only part that pisses me off, is it should have been 35-10. It should have been 42-14 if Miami kept the gas and kept the throttle on them. They let off, and that's what put them in this situation, because now you have these Notre Dame fans that are like, well, it was a close game. No, you guys only won by 3. Well, dude, you didn't watch the game. Anyone who watched the game knows that damn game wasn't close. I mean, it's bullshit. But anyway, so I digress. But looking at the Cowboys, obviously playoffs, it's going to be tough. I mean, we talked about it. We talked about the wild card, and getting in the wild card is going to be a challenge, because you've got, I think the 7th seed has 9 wins. So you'd have to see a monumental collapse ahead. Now, all the division teams are playing each other. I think I think the Cowboys win out. I think they're going to end up 10-6-1. And it's kind of it's the Cowboy way. Any other year they're in the playoffs, but 10-6-1 is not going to get you in as a wild card. The path for them would be the division. And if that's the path you choose and think they could do it, Philly's got to lose to the Chargers. They got to go cross country. That's always difficult. They got the Bills on the road. and they play the Commanders twice. And you just got to hope Jaden Daniels is healthy and maybe they could steal one from him. But starting with you, Jeff, where are you at with the Cowboys as far as is hope lost or where are you at today?
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's game over for the Cowboys for this season. Picked them to beat Philly, picked them to beat Kansas City, but I also picked them to lose to the Lions because I figured that's the typical letdown game. Yeah. And unfortunately, they proved me correct. There's a lot of things to talk about during that game, but just from a playoffs perspective, that hurt us because it's just a numbers game. We got 6 wins. You got 3 teams in the West that have 9 wins. You got 2 teams in the South with 7 wins, one of which is Carolina, who beat us hit up. And then you have 9-3 Chicago and 8-3 Green Bay, who we tied. And then you have 8-5 Detroit, who beat us. From a numbers perspective, it just doesn't add up for us to get in unless Philly has a remarkable collapse. And
they're in the middle of one. And I mean, we've seen it before with them. In 23, they were 10-1 and ended up 10-6.
But then they ended up turning it around. So, and so for me, I don't think Philly's going to capitulate that much.
Yeah.
Right. It may be rocky from here to the end of the season for them, but not enough for us to overcome 2 games behind. So unfortunately, I don't want to say last Thursday was our Super Bowl, but that was the most important game of the season due to what took place early in the season. Just from the numbers don't add up. Cowboys are going to be the outside looking in.
Yeah, and just Calvin Jefferson. I'm more on the side of Calvin. Was it a letdown or was you played 3 big games in 11 days? I mean, against teams that were both in the Super Bowl and then the other one was the best team in the NFC. It was a lot to ask. I think anyone going into the year, if anyone would have said, dude, you're going to win two or 3, we'd all take it. But I think to Jeff's point, which, it's the reality of it, they put themselves in a position where they had to win because they screwed up against Arizona. They screwed up against Carolina. They screwed up against an injured, depleted Chicago team, not the Chicago Bears today, but the Chicago that was 0 and whatever and was injury depleted. And we did not take advantage and win those games. That's why, to Jeff's point, which I can't disagree with, they had to win that game because of what they did before. I think it was tough for them to do. That's a big hill to climb, but they put themselves in that position and had to do it. So what you think, Greg?
Well, I'm more concerned about Dallas winning out than I am about Philadelphia losing. I don't have any doubt that Philadelphia lose another game, maybe 2. But the issue isn't so much Philadelphia imploding. Let's say Philadelphia implode. Well, if we don't win out, it doesn't matter anyway. And with all these other teams that got better records right now, we'll be the odd man out. So the division is not what I'm worried about right now. I'm more concerned about Dallas taking these last 3 or 4 games and winning out. And then let's see what all these other teams right now, what they look like. Because by the time the season's over, a lot of these other teams may lose 2, maybe 3 games, and that will put us in the mix. All they need to concentrate on right now is just winning out, not worrying about division or what's going to go on with Philly. Just win out. Because every one of these teams that are 8-3 and 9-4 now, that doesn't mean they're going to stay that way all the way out, period. Yeah. I know the people in Vegas right now, they're just wrenching their hands saying, ooh, that thing we put out about Cowboys not winning 7 games this season is getting kind of close. Cowboys, if y'all just focus on winning these games, that's it. Just win these games. Let everything else work itself out. There's enough games left out there for people to drop and lose. Then we'll be in a good situation. Carolina, I don't look at Carolina as a game that we blew. If you watch Carolina play, Carolina is no joke. Carolina blew us out because Carolina is that damn good. Carolina beat the Rams and held them off. So the Carolina game is, I look at it now and I say, well, it's not so much that we blew that game.
I was at that game. They blew the game.
But look at
they
Carolina.
Blew the game. They got knocked around. They played soft. I watched it. They played soft. Terrible coaching. I'm just going to say, Greg, they blew that game.
But gave up 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, but look at what Carolina has done this season.
I don't just. I'm talking about when they played though. Not you can't look at it's not who you play. It's when you play them. When they lined up against Carolina, Dallas should have dominated them. They were the better team at that point. Now, Carolina's gotten better. I give you that. But it's the same thing with Chicago. That Chicago loss, you could say, hey, man, we lost it. No, go look at that game. Chicago was 0-3 or 0 whatever. We had the momentum. We should have went. We should have won that game. CeeDee Lamb gets hurt, and then it's like, oh, our offense just didn't know what to do. And again, maybe that's on shoddy early coaching. Maybe they panicked or whatever they were doing. You're running the ball and destroying them on the run, which is Vontae Williams. He fumbled on that drive. Fine, okay, whatever happened. But then you give up running. No, I mean, you got to keep running the ball because you get them. So I just say those were winnable. Those were winnable games for the Cowboys. My opinion.
We can say all of them are winnable, especially when you beat Philadelphia and you beat Kansas City in 4 or 5 days. For me, that Carolina game, it's a wash. I think Carolina was the better team that day. Chicago, absolutely not. We should have won that. At home against the Cardinals was an epiphany.
That's the one you can't forgive. That's the one backup quarterback you can't. I would live through that nightmare.
That one to me, the Cowboys came out the locker room in the greatest comfort atmosphere of the world, thinking that they were going to roll over because they had Jacoby Brissett, and they messed around and blew it, period. But going forward, the Chargers, Minnesota, the Giants, and who else?
Commanders. Yeah.
I said it I said it before the Philly game. I lined all of them up and I said suspect, all the way down. The suspect game against Detroit, obviously we should have won it. CeeDee Lamb goes down. Pickens, I don't know what Pickens was doing when it was time for him to really, really step up and be number one. I don't know if he was so used to Lamb being there and that ball going that way instead of coming his way, so he wasn't really paying attention to his routes or what. But we had the opportunity to come back and tie it and possibly win it. Detroit was as desperate as we were. They need that game. But our DBs allowed that same flank right across that middle, that post. Yeah. They allowed that post to stay wide open all game. Detroit knew it, and Detroit just went right back at it, and it killed us. So our DBs, as we know who they are, our DBs let us down on that because our offense did score, but our DBs let us down. We get one stop, we go down and tie the game, and who knows what happens. But if the Cowboys can take these last few games and just focus on winning out, I think when it's all said and done at the end, based on these other teams losing games that they shouldn't lose or other teams are better, I think we can squeak in. But my biggest concern and only concern is that we win out. We lose one of those games, that the odds go from 9% to me to 0.
Oh, they gotta win out, but it's one game at a time. But you mentioned Pickens, so I want to bring it over and get your guys' opinion. I think some of it is a little bit overblown. I think the media has done what they do with the Cowboys, and then the fan base actually defended George Pickens. So, but it was really more the media that's did it. And when I mean defend George Pickens, I'm not going to judge George Pickens on the game against Detroit and forget about everything that he did this season. Right. It didn't look good. I agree. It didn't look good. Some of the nonchalant effort and some of those pass plays just didn't look good. He said, hey, well, I'm double covered, I'm bracketed, this and that. Got into a match with Richard Sherman, which was really funny. I enjoy that kind of stuff. And it's one of those things. You got former players being critical of current players. They have a job to do. I mean, they're media guys. But then you have the ones like a LaShawn McCoy, he's an idiot. But Richard Sherman always seems like he talks sensible to me. I mean, that's just, maybe I'm in the minority of that group, but I don't think he was going after him personally. I don't think it was personal for him, but he's saying, hey, you want to be the dog, you want to get paid, you gotta bring your A game every single day, every single play. And it just didn't look like it happened. But Jeff, start with you because I know you have your opinions on it. What's your take on George Pickens? Should the Cowboys be concerned signing him long term? Did that game change your mind about George Pickens, or where you at?
Yeah, I can't give him number one money after what I just saw Thursday night. I can't give him number one money. Any number one receiver knows I'm going to be double. I'm going to have a safety over the top. Now, as soon as CD went down, I should have seen his effort double. Like, hey, CD's out. I need to be the man. It doesn't matter if you put one person on me, two people on me, three people on me. And I didn't see it from an effort perspective. So one of those interceptions, how are you going to get beat on an inside slant by the corner to get the ball knocked up in the air? You can't do that as a number one receiver.
Yeah.
So, and then the pass play they always show from on the right side where he just kind of loafed into it. He saw the safety coming in. I guess he didn't think he was going to get the ball, which got knocked up. And then another where he did a comeback and his effort off the line, he was just jogging.
Yeah.
Right. Any number one, any legit number one who's a dog knows I got to sit there, and if my other guy's out, I am the one. It doesn't matter if you put two people on me. I'm going to get that ball. Where was that? When we needed it the most on Thursday night, where was that?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. We always talk about Cowboys needing dogs, right?
Yeah.
Where was that? We needed him to be that dog. It's fine when you're front running. It's fine when you're getting these inside slants and running 50 yards and you and CD feeling good and the offense is feeling good. But what happens when you're struggling on a Thursday night game after having two tough games beforehand? And then CD goes out. We all looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our 6th round draft pick showed out.
Yeah, he did.
But where was Pickens? So for me, I have a lot of concern about signing him to big money, because when you are on a contract year, that's usually when you see the best from players, right? I see the best effort. I see the best performance. When we need you the most, that's your best effort. I can't give him $30+ million a year. I wouldn't.
I think that's where, and get you to jump in, Greg, but that's where, like, some of the concerns, if I'm being honest, that I have sometimes with the Cowboys receivers and CD too. It's like when things are at their worst or tough and you got adversity, they just don't seem to, like, and I grew up with Michael Irvin. So the standard of competitiveness is just at a different level than maybe today's athlete and their mindset. But when things are at their lowest or adversity strikes, that's where you find out who you are. When things are bad, I want to find out how good you are and how bad you are. Now, I have no reservations and no issues of not signing Pickens. I think he's still, I don't forget about all the things that he's doing, but it seems to be a problem. And I don't know if it's with a lot of receivers, just being honest. It's not even just these two. I see it around the league where if things aren't going their way, it's the hands go up, they're frustrated. And I tell you, not to throw my son under the bus. When he was playing football, he was wide receiver and he's doing flag football. He would run his route, and if the ball didn't get thrown to him, he's this every time. And I said, I'm telling you that. And he was 5 years old on the 14 or whatever. Did the same exact damn thing. And I said, your body language sucks. And if I was your quarterback, I would never throw you the ball, because you got a bad attitude when, and he didn't mean it. It was just, that was it. I want the ball. So he was frustrated. And that's what I see sometimes with these receivers is when things are at their lowest, it's like, that's when you need to be the toughest. And that's what I always loved about Michael Irvin. He did, there was times that the teams were shutting him down, but he was going at it hard every single time. And he was on the sidelines. He was on this, he was, hyping up the team. But Greg, what's your thoughts on the whole Pickens drama? Is it media driven? Is there some facts to it? What you say?
No, I'm not going to judge Pickens on one game.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even be where we are without Pickens, period. Pickens has done this season what Lamb has not done this season or last season. And I'm not going to judge him on one game. I said before, Pickens is used to the Batman Robin theory where both of them are on the field at the same time. A lot of those plays that they call up, a lot of them normally would go to Lamb. And Pickens in some situations kind of looked like he was lollygagging a little bit, because in his mind when he's running this route, he's not thinking Lamb isn't in the game. He knows that they're both on the field as far as his mind is concerned. And a lot of times that ball, the the first progression would be Lamb. And then when he looks around and sees it's coming to me, like, oh, that's right, I'm that second progression or whatever if Lamb is in there. And the other receivers aren't Lambs. So I'm not judging Pickens on this one game. And I say, Jerry, if you use that to try to judge Pickens on one game, knowing what Pickens did to get us where we are, then you're just as janky as I already know you are, because you're just looking, instead of looking for a reason to pay the man, you're always looking for a reason to cheat people. He's always looking for a reason to cheat people instead of looking at what they bring to the game. And the media consultants, Sherman and all them, I don't give them any credibility. When they were playing, the last thing they wanted was somebody in the media to talk about what they're doing on the gridiron. When they get in the media, all of a sudden they become the same person that they didn't like that was in the media talking about them. Why? Because the media pushes. You're on a different field now, Sherman. You're on a different field now, Booger. You're on a different field, so-and-so. Guess what? In this field, you do what we want you to do. We want you to sensationalize things. We want you to cut up players to make the hype up to get us the ratings. We don't want you to come out and say, you know what? I've been on that field. I've been a Pickens, so I don't judge him that game. Pickens just had a bad game. That's what he should be paid. You're not going to hear him say that. They're going to hype it up and talk about these guys like they had a bad game. It's going to represent their entire season. They shouldn't get paid because the media organization drives that. So I don't give the media any respect when it comes to talking about Pickens or anybody else. Without Pickens, we are not where we are now. He had a bad game. So what? Everybody has a bad game. Yes, it looked like he lollygagged a little bit, but everybody does it. Are we going to crucify him for one game? Are we going to crucify him for one game and say he shouldn't get paid top dollar? And then we look at somebody like Dak, who we always stand 10 toes down for 9 and 10 years, and we want to crucify him. And then when he finally gets paid, everybody's, oh, Dak's going to turn around. Well, Dak's doing his part this year. But do we continue to crucify somebody for one game, but we drag Dak along for 9 and 10 years?
So, but here's the one thing I'll say about that part. I think, yes, it may have been one game. I agree with that. We're not where we are without him this year. I agree with that. And I think he's a phenomenal talent. However, one, he's on a contract year. Two, he's got to be self-aware enough to know CD's out. Like as soon as CD went down, you saw his hands. They looked like Tua when he went down with his head concussion. Yeah, you knew that he was concussed. He was gone for the game.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, it's not judging him off one game. There's a reason why Pittsburgh jettisoned him up out of there. There's a reason why Pittsburgh got rid of him. So it's not one game. It's, hey, is this a guy that we can trust to be there for us, whether through thick and thin? I want to sign Pickens, but I don't want to sign Pickens at $35 million a year.
Yeah, but Jeff, you got to look at this. Pittsburgh, it's not his leaving Pittsburgh is not his fault. Pittsburgh didn't have a damn quarterback.
That's
period.
True.
They didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have an offensive coordinator, knew what they were doing. Pickens still had the most receptions and took them to the playoffs 2 years in a row. Pittsburgh didn't know how to utilize what they had. He came to Dallas. Everybody said, oh, he's going to be a problem because of what Pittsburgh. Look what he did for Dallas. It was night and day from what people saw at Pittsburgh. Why? Because we knew how to utilize Pickens.
So how much do you pay him per year then?
It's not up to me. But I say don't lowball this man, because up until that game, Pickens was our number one receiver. He's young. He plays dynamically. They will correct that in the training room. They will correct that through coaching and mentoring and say, listen, you had one bad game. This is what we saw in that bad game. We don't need to see that again. He'll come out the next game and it'll be totally different. Pay Pickens what he deserves, period. Pay him
he should be paid market value.
And Jerry better not pull him behind the Coke machine without his agent to get him. Because listen, if Jerry doesn't pay him, it's not because of a lack of talent. It's because Jerry is known for wanting to get everybody on the damn cheap. So what he pays Pickens, if it's not fair, it's not because of Pickens' fault. It's all on Jerry, not Pickens.
I agree with that, but why do I want to put us in a situation where we're like Cincinnati is, where you got Higgins and Chase and you have no defense? Why would I want to put all that money? We signed Parsons, right? So we've started to build up our defense. Our defense clearly needs more help. That's the reason why they gave up 44 points on Thursday. If you sign Pickens to $35 million a year, you're going to be limited about what you can do on your defensive side of the ball, and we're going to be back in the same situation next year.
But what they're going to do, Jeff, and it's obvious, we can see the writing on the wall, they're going to franchise tag Pickens.
Which is just going to upset him.
It may upset him. It may upset him. But right now, he'll be on the team that wants to utilize him at the best potential. Now, if somebody else comes out there and offers him a serious lucrative package, knowing Jerry Jones, that'll be the sabotage attempt that Jerry does every year, and he'll let him go, and then we'll go from here to here. I have no doubt that because of some of the things that Jerry made a mistake and did last year and the year before by not paying early, signing in free agency.
Thank you.
That next year, if Jerry doesn't wake the hell up and do it early in the offseason and focus number one on DBs, and linebackers, then Jerry Janky Jones ain't learned the lesson. He said in his documentary, if y'all saw it, his last interview in that documentary, he said, we're doing this, blah, 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 blah. He says, but hell, I'm liable to blow it all up because he knows himself. He knows he is, that narcissist is who he is. Jerry will get to that position and decide, I'm going to do it my way, sabotage. And that's the only thing I'm worrying about in all season is his sabotage. But Pickens, if you franchise tag him, talk to him early and tell him why you're doing it. Show him the roadmap of what you're trying to do with the defense and tell him how you plan to pay him. Don't just do it by surprise. And if you don't franchise tag him, then pay the man. Because without Pickens, that duo that we need is not there. The best duo in the NFL right now.
Yeah. Well, let's just take a pause. We got a lot of people in the chat with a lot of passion and some other comments. I see the defense being mentioned. I see Turpin being mentioned. So let's just kind of get into, we don't need to get too deep in the Lions game. It's been long gone, but I don't really think the defense played that bad. Now, maybe I'm crazy. I think where the problem was, hear me out. The problem with the defense did a very good job against the run. They did for them. Going against those guys, they did a good job. Where they got killed was Gibbs' speed when he got out in the passing game. And that's where I think we have liability. Linebacker and safety. Yeah. And they've got to fix that. And they're not going to fix it this year. It is what it is. But they got pressure early. I think where I would give Eberflus some flack is they should have kept attacking because I think they knew that they weren't going to be able to hold them up, right, with the receivers. What they were doing early was working with pressure up the middle, and Goff was making bad throws. He was throwing them in 5 feet in front of the guy, and I think that's where they made a mistake. But to me, where the game was lost, special teams. They were starting at midfield every time we kicked the ball off. And you can't ask our defense isn't great. That's why I'm saying I'm not putting it all on the defense. Our defense is played better. But if you're asking our defense to defend a short field every single drive that we kick it off, that's not fair. That's a lot to ask. The other thing was the turnovers. The fumble, the bounce up interception, giving them short fields. Those are some of the things that hurt our defense. And did Ferguson fumble in that game? Was he?
Yes, he did, and it was such a bad time.
I love the effort, but you got to know when to get down. You got to know when to get down and just live to play another play. And that's where I think some of the things were, hurt them. The terrible offensive pass interference. I mean, probably one of the worst calls I've ever seen. I'm not going to say it decided the game, but it sure changed the trajectory of it because they would have had that ball right in there. The illegal hands to the face. Ferguson again, bad game by him. Unnecessary. That we would have had the ball inside the 5-yard line on that PI. It's the little things that killed the Cowboys a lot in Detroit. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the defense played. They weren't the Chicago Bears of '85, but I think the defense played about as good as I thought they would play. and to me, good enough to win. Have you not have those mistakes that they've made on special teams? I mean, Turpin, how many times, his fair catch, he's been called on it twice in a row.
Running.
Those are the only 2 penalties on a legal fair catch called in the NFL.
And that's not a fair. He wasn't calling fair catch. He was getting his balance. He was
bullshit.
Just getting his balance.
Bullshit.
He wasn't.
No, that's why he stopped. He started running and he stopped.
Yeah. But where he stopped because he saw the official over there. He saw the official over there waving. But he's got a habit, and maybe he got to break it up.
He's got to break the habit because he does it a lot.
He's got a habit of getting his balance, but it does look like a legitimate fair catch. And they got to tell him, look, I know that's part of your DNA when it comes to getting your balance, but you got to stop that because they already recognize it. They calling it as a fair catch, so do something different.
Yeah. But what's your thoughts? I mean, are you killing I know, Jeff, you said the defense is terrible. I mean, are you really putting that loss on the defense?
Not entirely. You give up 44 points, and there's context to it. But if you look at some of the highlights or the lowlights in this case, Kenneth Murray, he looked awful.
I don't know how he's still on the field.
I don't either. He looked awful. He looked confused. He was consistently out of position. We need desperate linebacker help. We need linebackers that can move forward, move lateral, and move backwards. And he looks like a practice squad player.
Yeah.
Truthfully. I still struggle seeing Donovan Wilson.
Yeah.
I still struggle seeing him in pass coverage. He's always in the wrong position. So the back end, whereas our defensive line has gotten better, even though we're not getting pressure on the quarterback like I'd like on a consistent basis, that linebacker core is struggling. Just bad, just really, really bad. And our secondary, I mean, Bland, $90 million guy. And most teams, I'd say most people would say, hey, if I have a corner on a running back out in space, I like my chances, right? Not Thursday night. Not Thursday night. He had him in push-up position. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. So I'm just, as a whole, I'm not going to put that game on the defense because the offense didn't contribute to a lot of our issues. But as a whole, our defense needs to get better, especially on the back end. Our linebackers need help. Our secondary needs help. That's why I thought Micah was what they call it, that force multiplier.
Yeah.
He covered up so many issues on the defensive side because of the pressure that he could provide on the quarterback. And now that's not there, and that back end looks tough.
No, if you don't get pressure, you're in trouble. And I think that's where the draft is going to have to be. It's all defense. I mean, I probably maybe go with a right tackle, probably get one of them and move on from Steele. That would save them a lot of money. So I just want to put in perspective, they're in a good cap situation. So I know, Jeff, you mentioned the Bengals. I don't think they're in that kind of shape with the cap. And I think what they did trading Parsons and then they re-signed some of these guys, if they're going to be good, they're going to have to draft well on defense. And to be quite honest, except for Parsons falling in their lap and obviously Overshown, fell to them as well, but he's been injured. So I don't want to anoint him an all-pro yet. I mean, he's got to be on the field consistently. They have just totally whiffed on a lot of players. Now, Revel is coming off an injury. He's there now. I think he looks like he's got the potential to be a starting cornerback and be a playmaker, but he got lost a few times, gave up some big plays there as well. So it's going to really rely. The defense is going to have to be built through this draft. So I would say, Greg, what's your faith and confidence that with Will McClay and the scouts that they're going to be able to build this defense and retool it through the draft? Because that's what they're going to have to do. If they're going to sign Pickens, you got to have the money on offense. You're going to have depth on defense, and that depth is going to have to be in the draft because that's where the players are the cheapest.
Well, I don't put the responsibility on Will McClay. I'm 100% behind exactly what Jeff just said. 100%. Well, from the beginning of the season, end of last season, and then beginning of the season, I had no faith in our corners and our linebackers. So the Detroit game, if, like I said, even in my video, if they just played average, I would be happy with that because our offense should make the difference. And with those penalties, bullshit, and then the fumbles, if the offense was clean, we tie that game and probably go into overtime, if not win it. But yeah. I have no faith in the DBs and the linebackers already. So there's not much to say about that other than the fact that Will McClay, the other coaches, they can't correct this. Only one person can correct this, and that person is the person who needs to hire a general manager. I'll say it 1,000 times again. Every successful team out there has a general manager who keeps their eyes on the field, on the players throughout the league and what they need. Not trying to do that and then a third of it on your oil companies and all this other stuff. And then, oh, by the way, you're really not a general manager, but you want to wear all the damn hats and twist them around and claim you know everything. We get a real general manager in there, I guarantee you, we will get the prospects in DBs, linebackers, and everything else going forward, signing people early and all of that stuff going forward that we need to make the Cowboys successful. That one component that a lot of people don't put emphasis on, which is a major cancer with the Cowboys, is that we don't have a true general manager. And without that true general manager, you're riding on 3 brand new tires and you got to retread. I'm telling you, people don't look at it that way because we look at what we see immediately. The defense looks awful. We had penalties. But what we got to do is go back to the root cause of why the Cowboys have failed for 30 years. The root cause is we don't have a general manager. I watch these general managers on these other teams during the season. They go out and get plug-and-play players during the season as it goes by because they know what they need here. They know what they need there. They go talk to the owner. We got to go get that guy. We got to pay this guy early. They know the game. Jerry doesn't know. Jerry wants to just stick with what he has, make all the decisions, and claim that if it goes good, it was my doing. If it goes bad, well, we got to go back to the drawing board. So everything that we did in that Detroit game should have took us as a minimum to overtime. But I go back to the root. We have a general manager 2 years ago. We are in a far better position defensively in the DBs and the linebackers than we are now because they know what they need. They see it and they know where to go get it during the season. So as much as the draft is coming up, as much as we got all these drafts, we got these good positions in the draft, it means nothing. It means the same old thing recurring if we don't have a general manager in that room and after the draft so we can make sure we plug and play as we need and put that defense together. Otherwise, we're rolling the dice with Jerry Jones on the draft, and then how is he going to develop these guys? A general manager knows how to do that. His staff knows how to do that. And we can't blame Will McClay and all those guys because they don't have a general manager that's the one that pivots everything for them and listens directly to them, and they together can put together the nucleus we had that we need. Jerry was fortunate with Jimmy Johnson because he had the North Turners, the Bush Johnsons. He basically had general managers all throughout because he had the best of the best around him. We don't have that option anymore. So until we get a general manager, I don't care what we get in the draft. I don't care what Jerry does to make up for his lack of paying people in advance. The development of a defensive backs and linebackers are going to be rolling the dice. So let's go to the root, get us a general manager, which we know it won't ever happen as long as he's part of the team, and we'll be better. Look at his sons and look at his daughter. None of them do anything but sit behind their desk all day like this. Do a damn thing. None of them are general manager material, not even close, period. And we're the only team in 32 teams where the owner wears every hat. The only team, 32 teams, no general manager. What do you expect? He's not going to break the mold. What do you expect?
Jeff, anything to add? I give up on that conversation because it's to me, it's wasted air because it's never going to change. You got to do it in spite. And I think Will McClay does a lot more than what people think. I mean, I've I've had conversations with people that have been inside the organization, or you can even hear them on the radio when they talk about it. I think he's a little bit more involved than what you're thinking. But go ahead, Jeff. Anything to add to that? Or
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but so much because real Cowboys know we've been in purgatory as long as Jerry's been the GM, right? And we're going to continue to be in purgatory for that amount of time. So there's no point even expounding.
You got to win it. You got to win in spite. Is what I just leave it as. You got to win. You got to win in spite.
You still got to clean it up. You still got to clean it up. It needs to be in his ear. It needs to be in his ear.
We are like Major League when they were trying to take all the resources away, and they had that picture of the lady, and they were just taking pieces off to win in spite of the GM. That's exactly where we are right now with Jerry. That's exactly where we'll be next year. And for every other year, the biggest thing for me is when he steps down or is incapable of being dual roles. When Steven steps in, does Steven do the same thing? Or does Steven say, yeah, I'm going to learn from my dad's mistakes. I'm going to get a real GM who knows what he's talking about so that we can bring the Cowboys back to prominence on the field, not just from a business perspective, but on the field. Can we bring the Cowboys back to where they should be?
If he's smart,
it's interesting.
He does.
It's interesting because I've waffled back and forth with Stephen Jones. And just real quick, we got 250 guys in the live stream, so definitely appreciate it. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit the share. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Definitely appreciate it. If you're watching us over on Twitter or Facebook or Twitch or whatever other thing we're on, slide over to YouTube and hit that thumbs up. It's just below our lovely faces. Hit that thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe as well. Definitely appreciate all the support. But Stephen Jones is an interesting guy to me because in the beginning, I thought he was going to be the difference. Like he's going to be different than Jerry. And then when I listen, then there's been some years, I'm like, oh shit, man, he's worse than Jerry. I'm like, because when you hear him talk a while, but then now I'm listening to him talk. He doesn't talk as much as he used to, but he's on there. And I'm thinking he might be the common sense guy. He might be the one that puts a GM, have that buffer. And to me, it still always comes down to the owner. The owners are paying these salaries. So I understand Jerry's thinking of saying, well, I've got to sign the check, so I'm just going to just cut out the middleman. You still need a buffer. I'm a big fan of buffer. You can't have, like, I got people that work for me, that report to me. If they can just jump me and just go to the owner of the company, then what do you have me for? You know what I mean? You just basically cut the legs from under me. There needs to be buffers. Yeah, Jerry Jones talks about Micah Parsons had my cell number. This one has the elite players have my cell number. They shouldn't. Or all of one should have your cell number. If that's the way there shouldn't be this pecking order of who you pick and choose. That's why you need that buffer. If there's an issue, they should go to the GM if you want to make it Will McClay or someone else. So that's where I say, Greg, I agree. It's really, it's more of a culture issue, and it's more of that. We all been in business and we all understand the chain of command and how that process goes. And that to me is more the problem with I don't think Jerry is sabotaging. I don't think Jerry's trying to do these, but Jerry wants to hold everything. And when you do that, emotions get involved. And some of my friends know I'm an emotional guy, but sometimes emotions get the best of me at work. And you got to, so I think with him, you got to have a buffer because you're speaking emotionally instead of factually or what's best for the organization long term. It's just like you said with Micah Parsons, you could have signed him a year ago and you would have saved $10 or $15 million, whatever it is. But he's not thinking that way. He's thinking, well, shoot, man, he said he was going to sign for 11. Now he's not. Well, screw him. Well, that's the emotional side. You can't be, you got to think logically. So I think that's where my problem with Jerry is.
Well, whether you make Will McClay the GM, whether you bring in a guy like Louis Riddick, I don't care. But you need someone who knows ball.
Yeah.
Jerry's not that guy. He thinks he knows ball. He doesn't. He doesn't. He relies on a bunch of other people in the background who do what Jerry tells them to do. And
bingo.
Jerry can't separate, to Mike's point, emotions. Trading Micah. First time in my lifetime I've seen us trade a star player in the prime of their careers, and then you trade him in the NFC to someone that if we were good, we knew we were going to meet in the playoffs, and you So that pick is going to be, those 2 picks are 26 or worse. And that's what you traded them for? You should have traded them before the draft. So that's Jerry's emotional side negatively impacting the Cowboys.
And Steven is going to do right now what Jerry wants to do. He's going to appease Jerry because he knows how Jerry get emotional with them. He liable to tell Steven, "No, you out. Go to the jock room." Because Steven right now, I think, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's doing right now what he knows Jerry wants to hear and see. I bet you if Steven, I would bet that if Steven had to take over because Jerry's incapacitated, i.e. Al Davis situation, or Jerry's gone, I bet Steven would say, first thing I'm going to do is hire a general manager, period. There's no way in hell I'm going to balance all this. I'm hiring a general manager, and I'm going to try to find one of the best general managers. I bet that's what Stephen Jones would do. And then we would start to see things on a whole different level. But if he came in and he did the same thing as Jerry, then not only did the fruit didn't fall far from the tree, we're doomed for another century. So I really believe in my heart of hearts that Stephen is sitting back saying, sooner or later, my dad's going to have to step off the throne. And I'm just waiting to make my very first decision on getting a GM because I need that badly. And he knows once he has that, we can say, oh, hell, now we're about to build and we're about to move on. But until that happens, I'm just so happy that I was born in the era where I got to see all of the Cowboys Super Bowls. I got to see all their Super Bowls. I got to enjoy the ones they won. I got to see the glory days, bad days, all the stars back then. Oh, I'm just so happy I was born in that era because I may not ever see it again long as this dude is still the president.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking about this the other day. We were talking about the fact that, we are real Cowboy fans. We're not going to sit there and say win the Super Bowl every year, et cetera, et cetera. But our children may be the real Cowboys fans because they're fans and they've never seen us during our glory years. We've been perennial outsiders and they still continue to be fans.
Yeah. I just want to real quick to Tyrone. I'm not saying they should have kept or signed Parsons. I don't know I think the point of if you're running it like a business, that Parsons probably not going to be. You could have made the trade before the draft to help you week one, to help you then. I think that's the point of it. Parsons, was he a bad locker room guy? With that, I'm not in the locker. I don't know. I know he's a hell of a player, and I know he's got a lot of value. And they did get 2 picks for him. But I think to Jeff's point is if you're treating it like a GM, like a business, you make that trade early on before the draft, knowing you're not going to re-sign him, and you just move on, and you don't send them to our rival in our conference that just beat the hell out of us in the last time we were in the playoffs too. So I would have sent him to the Jets or something like that.
Thank you.
Especially somebody who focuses so much on money. He focuses so much on that dollar. You would think that he would realize, man, if I sign him early, I can save some peanuts. You would think he would realize that. But let's go back. It's the emotional part that overwhelms every decision that he makes. Logical decisions otherwise. Like I said in shows before, Eberflus was just itching to put out that defensive scheme with Michael Parsons. He was itching. He was designing schemes around Michael Parsons, just knowing, this defense is going to be off the fleek. And then just before the game 1, Jerry gets rid of him. And now, Eberflus sitting there saying, you just took the engine out of my damn car.
Yeah. I think Dallas is going to be better. And I agree, Tyrone. We don't know. They could have tried it. The Jets maybe rejected it. Panthers, they tried. We don't know. So in defense of Jerry, we don't know. I'm just saying I think the point is had you planned it out more and put it out there, they kept saying he's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere. You just don't know. But I think the Cowboys are going to be better off. I think what they got with Quinn and Williams, the game to me is won in the trenches. And I think the Cowboys got strong in the trenches on both sides. Their guard safety on offense and their guard center on offense and their tackles are much, much improved and going to be there. They're signed. It's going to be something that they've got. I think Ezeraku, I think, you've got some pieces that you could work with. So I think the Cowboys will be fine long-term moving on for Parsons. But I think that the point was we might have been able to help ourselves this year, because we're talking about next year and it's going to be great. But this year with this offense, you've wasted an opportunity.
Wasted.
And that's the frustrating part.
And one trade I would do, trade or cut, as I would move Steele next season.
Yes.
I would most
You're going to save $18 million getting rid of him. So
I think he's Steele. So that should be a automatic move right there. But then again, no GM, who knows what Jerry.
Yeah, well, I mean, back to Mike's point. For me, I've never been a Dak fan. Never. It's the reason why I never got his jersey. But Dak's having a good year, and we're wasting it. Yeah. And it's just going to be a wasted season of Dak playing good ball because we didn't have the pieces around, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to complement the offense.
Yeah.
And the only player, Jeff, in years, because I'm kind of different on that. The only player over the last, I'll say 10 years, that I really never been a fan of was Mozzie. That's the only person I've never been a fan of. I can't say I can't pick out anybody else. I say, I was never a fan of him, because I saw the potential and I saw what we could do putting all these other components together that need to be put together. And I saw how these folks can develop. But Mozzie was one I never, and I guess it's a first for me. That was a player that I never had confidence in. And Mike remembers, the last 2 seasons, that's all I talked about was, I said, Mozzie was just complacent, shiftless. Mozzie just glad to get in the league and get paid. And we should have moved on from him 2 years ago. But as far as like Dak and all them, I some games I see where Dak wasn't doing it, but Dak was. And then when Dak came in, he lit it up for 3 years. I was always focused on all the components we need in order to ensure what we put on the field and the people support them was the best. And my number one focus on who I want to say the word hate, but who I dislike the most, it always comes back to that damn root, that turnip green, that damn Jerry Jones. Mm-hmm. And I say this, the players that a lot of people go down to low-hanging fruit and talk about after we lose and all this, if they go back to the root of it, he puts together a winning team, or just a general manager knows what he's doing, we probably wouldn't be talking about these players like we're talking about, because the unity would be there like we had back in the day. So it's hard for me to get past that. Yeah, we got it. We're forced with dealing with what we got. I understand that. But I still can't evade the fact that, God damn it.
So I would just say this, and it's not that I dislike Dak, but I dislike Dak at $60 million a year. Now, but that still goes back to Jerry, because Jerry put us in that situation to have to sign that contract.
Yeah.
If you'd have signed him earlier, he's at $55 million, $50 million. Well, two was at $50 million. Guy in Jacksonville was at 55. Right. If you sign him beforehand, it's less. But you can't tell me that Dak, who, when you have the conversation about top 10 quarterbacks, sometimes some people think he's in, some people think he's out.
Yeah.
But he's the highest paid player in the league.
And
that's the disconnect.
He did the same thing with Romo. Remember?
He did the same thing with Romo. He did it with CD.
Yep.
He did it with CD.
Same thing with Romo. And it's in his DNA.
Yeah. Well, if you wait, then you're gonna. It's the game is these positions are next man up. I don't know why. I mean, you could look at Mahomes is like not even, I don't think, in the top 10 paid.
It's inflation. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
It's not today. So that's where it comes up to. So I've said this before. I don't know if it's factual, but there's something that I've heard that say that they have to have all that guaranteed money needs to be in escrow. You got to have that available in escrow. And when you're signing these huge deals, the Cowboys are one of the very few family-run businesses. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much I know they're equity rich and all that, but I don't know how much cash rich they are. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And maybe that has something to do with it, because why would you drag out any of these contracts? I mean, they did it, like you said, they did it with CD, they did it with Romo, they did it with, all these guys, and you end up paying a premium. You end up making them the highest paid because, like to Jeff's point, it's next man up. It's going to be today's price, not yesterday's. And So they have the highest paid guys. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But me personally with Dak, I don't look at what guys get paid because I have no control over it. I'm a fan. And I think Dak is a good quarterback for the Cowboys. Is he Mahomes? Is he Brady? No, but he's capable of leading this team to a Super Bowl with the pieces around him. You know, people give him shit. Oh, well, he didn't perform. Well, yeah, he did perform pretty good in the playoffs, but we also gave up 250 yards rushing. It's what I talk about. Your defense is not strong up the gut, and you get gashed and you get put in these positions, and then you're forcing your quarterback and you're forcing your offense to be perfect. It's the same thing that happened this year. Got to go toe to toe to everyone because the defense was inept for so many games this year. It's gotten better, but that's the problem. The quarterback gets most all the credit, but they get most all the blame. That comes with being the highest paid, and that's just is what it is. But if you look at Philly won the Super Bowl on the backs of Saquon Barkley and their defense.
Yes.
I mean, that's just a fact. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, but that's the facts.
So I will say they got to the Super Bowl based on the backs of Saquon and their defense. Who was the MVP of the last?
Oh my God!
But the Super Bowl always names the quarterback.
Eli Manning was the MVP.
9 times out of 10, the quarterback's named MVP.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but he balled out in both the last 2 Super Bowls. I'll give him that.
He played well, but the defense. Look at what the defense did to Mahomes. They annihilated him. That defensive line, like I said, in the trenches, destroyed.
You can't give the MVP to the defense.
And they rarely ever pick anybody other than the quarterback. That defense did to Kansas City that Mahomes has never seen done to him in his career. Without that defense, I mean, they came out from the kickoff like they were all on speed. And those guys, they demolished Kansas City. But where does the MVP go to all the time? The quarterback.
But he did. He put up numbers to justify it. But the thing that I have with Dak, additionally, is for years, and I've talked to Mike about this before. Dak plays best when we have a legit run game.
Yes.
Right. Which is why I thought that's the reason why we got 3 first-rounders on the offensive line, because when we can get in that play action, and they have to respect the run, they got to roll more 7, 8 people in the box. Ooh, put CD and Pickens on the outside, we're going to give teams fits. But so often we go away from the run. We didn't sign Derrick Henry a couple years ago, even though he wanted to come to us.
Or Barkley.
Right. So you have those opportunities. You don't do it. Dak plays best off play action. He always plays best off play action. That's why when Zeke was here, we paid Zeke all that money right before we paid Dak, because that was the key to our offense. When we had a legit run game, it brought the best out of Dak. And now we sit there and shotgun, and we have him throw 45 times a game. When we put it all on Dak, Dak sits there and gets us in trouble. He throws those untimely picks like Romo used to do.
But that's why you have an offensive coordinator with experience and knows what he's doing. That's why you have a general manager to go get that Derrick Henry and that Barkley like we should have got. And the nucleus of any team is to have a running game, because you got to be balanced. If you're not balanced, you're not going to go out there and win all the time. And look at Buffalo. You got Josh Allen trying to do everything because they don't really have they got a running game, but they're not playing it in that 1-2. So the offensive coordinator and the general manager, that's the component that you need to have that. Now that we got that with Dak, the offensive coordinator, Mike Shoddy, much as we love him, he's the offensive coordinator. We don't know how proven he is as a real good offensive coordinator. He's making those calls. Now, I don't say that we're leaving him up to Dak. I say that those are the calls that are being made to give Dak to execute. The offensive coordinator needs to see that, what you're talking about, Jeff, and execute it better. He's not. I always said, why we got noodle legs Lamb coming around on a reverse jet sweep when you got somebody like Turpin. And that's how Lamb got hurt this year against Chicago. Offensive coordinator makes that call. Lamb don't ever need to be coming around on the jet stream. That's why you got Speedy Turpin to do that. So the offense coordinator has to take responsibility for exactly what you're talking about. Putting them in the shotgun, putting them behind the center. That's the offensive coordinator. It's not Dak saying, I want to do it this way. I want to do it that way. No, that's the offensive coordinator putting them that way. Now, offensive coordinator, AKA having and I'll harp on this till the day I die, a general manager, they're always on the same page because they're talking every day. They're talking football on the field. And that Derrick Henry and that Barkley, who was sitting out there just waiting, nobody touched them. And Jerry, what'd he say? Derrick Henry wouldn't have helped us anyway. That shows you why you need a general manager. Trump card right there, period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this is what I would say. Just I want to put a bow on the Hurts thing because you way off, Jeff. I got to disagree with. This is his playoff Super Bowl run. And you tell me
I just said Super Bowl.
And I'm going to say
I'm not talking about playoffs.
I'm going to include the Super Bowl. I'm going to include the Super Bowl. All right. His Super Bowl run, 131 yards passing, 128 yards passing, 246 yards passing, and in the Super Bowl, 220 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and 1 TD. That ain't lighting it up. The defense annihilated. Patrick Mahomes.
But what about the 304 for 1 touchdown and 103.4?
That was the Super Bowl they lost, which you're losing.
All I'm saying is that he
got the MVP for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. I'm just saying, if you look at what the defense did to Mahomes, the defense should have got they should have.
You can't give the defense. Okay, defense. You guys all get the MVP.
No, right. They did it for Randy White and Harvey Martin.
Harvey Martin, Randy White. You can pick somebody because let me tell you, there were 2 juggernauts on that defensive line. 2 juggernauts that were mentioned through the whole game. They could have got co-MVP, but this is the NFL. Roger Goodell. The quarterback's going to get the MVP if they win. So I don't care what.
We shouldn't be surprised by this. We saw this a reason why Seattle didn't get another chip. Instead of turning around and handing off the beast mode, who was eating the Patriots' lunch all game long, they're going to sit there and try to throw a slant.
That's the arrogance of Carroll, the arrogance of Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson could have audible that and just said, you know what, let's not be stupid. Let's
win this chip. That's right. Hey, I don't care what play they just called in. Guess what? It's a matter if I'm going right or left.
Yeah.
Hand off right, hand off left.
That
was Marshawn Lynch getting this ball.
Dumbest Super Bowl.
The dumbest play I think I've ever seen in the Super Bowl.
And that's not my team, but every time I hear that, I get pissed off because they should have handed him that ball. I every time I think about Seattle, I just get pissed off. I'm like, you should have just gave him. And if you look at the play, they all looked like he was going to get it. He had a walk-in on that outside.
I don't understand it, but hey, now over 300 of you guys hanging in the cave, man. We always have a great time on Sunday morning. It's always a great show, and obviously having Jeff joining, love the insight. Greg, glad to see you're up. You haven't lost the passion. You're carting yourself around a little bit, but you haven't lost the passion. That's what I love. And really with the Cowboys, we talked. They dug their own grave. They put themselves in this position. All I can ask selfishly is please win 8 games so I can win my $600. That's all at this point, that's all I want. CFP is coming on in 45 minutes. We're going to find out if Miami gets screwed. We talked about that. A lot of you guys joining the chat late. So if you guys missed any of that, you can go back and watch it. But more importantly, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe, hit the like, and definitely appreciate everyone for joining. And more importantly, I want to give you guys final words. Jeff, as your first time in the cave, hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully it won't be your last time. We love the insight, love the passion, and the love for the Cowboys. We got to work on the Seminoles. We'll work on that. That'll be for another show.
We didn't have to talk about that. See, I was about to say, hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. Love being on the cave. Something we kind of talked about for a while.
Yes.
So you had to bring up my Seminoles. But let's say this. I bet you a lunch that Miami's in.
All right.
I'll bet you a lunch.
That'll be a lunch I would love to pay.
There you go.
And I hope
bet you a lunch that Miami's in.
And I hope you're right.
I beg
And
you.
then from a Cowboys perspective, again, I just think it's a numbers game. I think that game right there, there's a little bit too much for us to do in order to get in, but it is what it is. I've been a Cowboys fan all my life. It's not necessarily a surprise to me. Disappointing, but it is what it is. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
It's great. And also, is there any, are you active on social media? You doing any other podcasts? Anything you want to plug and promote? Have at it.
Okay, so I just started doing the Long Distance Playbook podcast. A buddy of mine from Virginia, he lives over in Italy. A couple of guys from Germany. So I just started doing it about 3 weeks ago. They asked me to come on. They said, "Hey, can you talk about soccer?" Me, avid soccer lover. I was like, "Sure." Came on for 15 minutes. They asked me to stay on for the next segment, and the next segment, and the next segment. 2 hours later, finished the show. Thanks for having me on. An hour later, like, "Hey, we want you to be on full time." I'm like, "Okay, cool, great, something to do." I wanted to start doing some podcast work and everything. So great. Now they just feel bad because I'm killing them with their picks. So, because 2 weeks ago, 7-0 in college football, 8-0 in the NFL. Unfortunately,
trying to take Uncle Cheech's job.
I was going to say, they got another Cheech.
I was in Virginia though, so I couldn't place bets.
Oh man,
15-0.
Wow.
So frustrating. But yeah, literally just trying to get out here, do a little bit more of the podcasting. Obviously, love talking sports, regardless of what sport it is. Passionate about the Cowboys. Love talking about soccer. Definitely going to get into the NBA and NCAA basketball coming up. But yeah, appreciate you having me on the show.
No, and I'll just say I see people in the chat about it. I predicted Cowboys to win 11 games. I think they're going to end up winning 10. I thought 11 games would get them in the playoffs. I think it would. 10 games I would have thought would, but it's not. So it is what it is. But Greg, any final thoughts on your side?
Yeah. Oh, April Brooks. I was on X. I got off of X last year. We can talk about that on another day. But
it's a cesspool. You don't want to be in there.
Yeah, but I am on TikTok, Gregory Gerard 146, and then Facebook is just Gregory Gerard. If you find me on there, and then G2GGN on Instagram. But like Jeff said, being a diehard Cowboy fan, I love meeting other diehard Cowboy fans because that, like I said, that's just in my DNA. I've been a Cowboys fan since I was 5 years old, and that dates me. And I'm always passionate about them. And I never give up until the math says, well, I don't even give up then, but I never give up on whether we're going to do something until the math says that we're not, because there's been seasons people gave up and the math put us in it. So I just want us to win out these next 4 games or whatever and let the chips fall where they're made. And then we'll see where we go. But as far as the Cowboys, I'm going to be representing them even if we lose and we don't get in it. I'm going to represent them throughout the season. I always am. Everybody sees me locally. They know that's that Cowboys dude. So you can talk smack. He ain't going to sit there and argue with you because he knows that Cowboys are high visibility. You're always going to come with smack. I just say when you get 5, then you can holler at me. But until you get 5, then you got nothing else to say about this happened this day, this happened that day. Because there's only a few teams, and I can put them less than one hand that's got 5 or more. So unless you have 5, catch up. And they don't rust. They just because you got them, don't mean they so old 30 years that you ain't had one in 30 years. Well, when did you get yours? And I'm going to remind you, Carl, it took y'all 60 plus years to get one. You're relevant today. But when you become irrelevant, we're going to remember that. And we ain't going to forget it either. So when you get 5, then you can get on our level and start talking. And by 20 years from now, those will be old.
Absolutely.
Next, gear up, suit up, eat up, drink up, because that's what we do when they play. Always give them your best until the last fat lady has sung. And until then, it's Cowboys for life.
I got nothing else to say, but Canes better be in the playoffs. You guys have a good Sunday. We'll see you.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.
Hey, what's up, man? Good time.